what are some of those other things? I know you mentioned like having dinner, maybe get into the boot camp that you had started, all that kind of stuff that differentiated you from the rest of us.
Yeah, it's a great question, Tim, and I think it's a lot to do with like coming in with fresh eyes and not having a big firm that trained me on some of those, some of those tactics that may have worked before that aren't working as well now, but really just the transactional, like I I'm very human. I think first and foremost, there's a definite learning curve in tech recruiting. I don't write code. I'm not technical to the level that I'm a developer by any means, but I put in a lot of work. Like early on, my brother and I would go to tech meetups together. My brother was also a recruiter. And some of the first tech meetups I went to, we saw other recruiters that would kind of like slide their cards across the table and then bounce 5 minutes, 10 minutes into the meetup. And my brother and I early on were like, we're never going to do that. Like if we're going to go to a tech meetup, we're going to sit through the whole thing. And half of it, especially early on, is gibberish to me. But every meetup, I started to connect a few more dots and be like, okay, front end versus back end, and what's object oriented, why, who's the Ruby community. Like, again, I'm not learning to code myself, but I'm learning enough that I can truly be helpful to people that do code. And I think, there is that kind of initial learning curve where some of the junior or entry level recruiters don't really take the time to learn that. And it could be offensive when you're talking to someone about making a career change that is what puts food on their family's table, and you don't even know what you're talking about, and you're misrepresenting or mispronouncing language. It's just, a job change is a really big deal. It's, I heard recently it's like right up there with the amount of research people do when they buy a house. So it's a very big life move. So anyways, the learning curve, I think just knowing enough to truly be valuable, I think is important. And it's not that much. It's just kind of like some basic flashcard knowledge of this is this, this is that. But once you know that, you can start to really understand why this job might be good for someone or not for another. And then I think to your point, like I always joked in my recruiting days, it was coffee, lunch, and beers. That's all I did. But everyone I was competing with was just sending LinkedIn messages. And, even today, as I've shifted out of recruiting and more into sales, I really believe like people work with their friends. And it's not that, it's your middle school or high school style friends, but professionally, I feel so grateful to have a job where I get to meet cool people like you and become friends. And it's, friends is something that maybe I use loosely compared to others, but I consider you, Tim, a friend. We grab coffee a few times a year. And so it's the same in recruiting. I really care about these people. And that's, it's not so much to ask. It's just meeting people, getting to know them, and trying to be helpful. And going back to the talent agent approach, the way I ran the agency was, I'm not really headhunting on behalf of the tech companies because all their needs are very recyclable. A bunch of them have DevOps needs. Some of them have mobile needs. A bunch of them have general software engineering needs. Like, I'm going to focus on the people and do it backwards. And I really did that of, I want to meet you. You tell me what's exciting to you, what you're into, why you might be a little bored at work right now. And I'm going to go back to all the companies I know and try and present you with 5 to 10 companies that could be interesting. So really putting the candidate first, with the rise of technology and email and LinkedIn, I think has gotten lost for a lot of recruiting companies. It's just all about numbers and how many emails, et cetera. So really leaning into the people side and also having enough technical knowledge to be helpful.